and thank you for connecting. I think that we are live, yes. So I hope that you had a nice weekend and I hope you enjoyed Valentine's Day. Yesterday we had some fantastic dessert and food. I can show you a picture of the food we had yesterday for Valentine's Day. This was breakfast. Um, Very good food for a special day, and yeah, so you can see a very fat and very unhealthy breakfast. So I hope that you had a nice weekend. I hope everything is good. I hope you can understand me and there are no problems with the connection or the Wi-Fi or the technology. It's always possible to have a little problem, so I hope it's not too bad. We also have a dog in the garden and sometimes the dog is very loud and you can hear him barking, so hopefully that's not a big disruption also. So my objective is to help with the free classes at the moment. It's a good opportunity for me to try to work again. I stopped working in May because we have 6 people at home and a baby, so finally it was difficult, but now I have a little space and a little opportunity to try to teach again. So it's a good opportunity for me. Your objective, I think, you want to try and understand fluent English. You want to try and understand in conversations, in movies, in reality. So I want to try and help in that situation. Also, the schools are very expensive and teachers are very expensive. So it's a good opportunity for me to try and help, especially people that maybe cannot afford to pay for a teacher or a school. Okay, so everything is free. If at the end you want to make a little contribution or a little donation to support me, that would be very helpful and grateful. You can see my information here. There's 3 possibilities. We have a possibility with Bizum in Spain, which is very popular. The other option is PayPal. With the picture you can scan the code. That's the second option, and the third option is by bank. You can see the details at the bottom. Okay, it's an option, and if you want at the end to make a little contribution, it's a great help for me. Okay, the other possibility is with PayPal. So if we go here, I can show you the page. This is a particular page to support me, and that's the link you can see, and it's another possibility as well if you want. Okay, so the class today. So the agenda, you can see first there's an introduction document. I want to show you an introduction to grammar and all the important points. Every day it's the same. We have the same structure to explain the technical vocabulary and the technical concepts in English. That's very important at the beginning, because during the class I mention the technical concepts a lot. For example, verb, adjective, noun, phrasal verb, idiom, past perfect, present perfect. These concepts are very important. So at the beginning, it's necessary to explain in general the concepts. Okay. After the introduction, there is an article. So we will analyze an article with vocabulary and grammar to identify and to show the important points. Okay, that's the second part. The third part is a video. We have a small video from a series, a very well-known series in Ireland, and we will analyze maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes of a very natural conversation, and I can try to help with the vocabulary and expressions there also. Then we have phrasal verbs, a list of phrasal verbs and a list of idioms that I will try to help and introduce and show. Okay, so I hope you can understand me. It's possible the class will be difficult, but that's good. But I hope you can understand me, and I hope a little patience, the class will help. Okay, so the first document is also speaking. So of course speaking is very important, and there is an option today if you want to participate in the class, if you want to join the class at the end. It's possible to have speaking practice for a few minutes just for conversation. The code for Zoom, so the ID is here and the passcode is here for Zoom if you want to connect. Okay, so you can see the meeting ID and the passcode. That's an option if you want to practice some speaking at the end of the class. In front during the class when everybody is watching, we can try to correct and help with pronunciation and important points. Okay, so that's an option as well. Okay, so the first documents you can see, I'm going to share the screen. So first you can see the introduction document, and every morning it's the same. We show the introduction document, and I will try to be short because every morning it's quite long, but it's very, very important because it's the foundation and it's really the base of English that's very, very necessary. If today is your first day, well, this is very important for you. If you have attended the class before, you are very familiar with this document, but at the same time it's important to refresh and to check again. Okay, so for me there are 3 categories that are very important in English. The first category is the use of English section, which is very, very important. The second section are the tenses, the different times that we speak. And then the third category is just other general grammar topics. That's the introduction for me, and I want to explain each section. Okay, so the first section is the use of English, and in my opinion this is possibly the most important area when you learn English. Okay, because the majority of people, I think, understand grammar in general. The majority of people have a good level and a good foundation of grammar. Okay, of course there are some people who do not, but I think a lot of people have a good concept of grammar. So this area, use of English, is a little different, and in my opinion it's probably the most important when you're learning English, because accents, number one, are very different. We have lots of different accents around the world. You have an accent in Australia, an accent in England, you have Liverpool, London, very different, an accent in Scotland, Ireland and the United States. So very different accents when people speak, and that's a big difficulty to really understand English. So that's a big area for sure. Okay, the next idea is for phrasal verbs, and the concept of phrasal verbs I think is very particular to English. For example, in Spanish I don't think you have the concept of phrasal verbs. Portuguese, Indonesian, other languages don't have this concept, so it's particular to English. And basically it's a verb and a preposition, and there's a literal significance for the verb and the preposition, but normally there's a second or a double significance for the phrasal verb, which is very confusing and very important. One example, the verb to come and the preposition across. So the majority of people understand come here, come to this position, and across is the preposition. Okay, across the road, across the river, but together they have a different significance. To come across has the significance to find unexpectedly. So I'm looking in the supermarket and I come across some chocolate. So I find unexpectedly some chocolate. That's the significance of to come across. That's one example of a phrasal verb, and we have a lot of phrasal verbs, a long list of phrasal verbs, and that is very important. And today during the class I try to identify the phrasal verbs, and also I have a list of phrasal verbs as well. So this is a very important area, because in conversation with family, with friends, informal, formal, they are fundamental and they are very common, and we use them all the time. Okay, the next area that is very important are idioms or expressions. In Espanol, frases hechas. Okay, but again, the same concept. The idioms are used a lot of the time in conversation with formal and informal, with friends, with family. We use idioms all the time, very fluently, very quickly, and they're very important to catch and very important to identify. And again, we have a long list of idioms, and today I will also try to show you a list of idioms, but also during the class to identify the idioms also, and they are very important. Okay, conversation is also a big practice that you need to do. So you really need to practice your conversation as much as possible. You need to try and speak with somebody in English regularly. It's difficult, but you need to try and practice, and I hope in the class I can help a little with people who want to practice speaking. Okay, so again, with the Zoom you can connect with the meeting to have a conversation and a little chat. Okay, pronunciation is a big part of English also, and during the class I will try to identify the important pronunciation issues in English, because always there are some irregularities in pronunciation in English. For example, Spanish is very phonetic, but English we have a lot of irregularities with pronunciation, and it's very important to identify. Okay, so the next section are the tenses, the different times that we speak in English. So when you speak, do you speak in the present? Do you speak in the past? Do you speak in the future? Do you speak in the simple, the continuous, or the perfect? So we have a few different concepts, and again at the beginning I really want to introduce and to explain the basic concepts first, because during the class I try to identify the perfect, the continuous, the simple, the active, the passive. These concepts are very important. So the first concept is the simple. We have the present simple, which is one action in the present that you do. We have the past simple, which is one action in the past that is completed. And we have the future simple, one action that will be completed in the future. So for example, the verb to look. I look in the present simple. Regular is normally ed, so I looked is the past simple. Present, I look. Past, I looked. Future, you have two possibilities. I will look, or I am going to look. So there's two possibilities for the future. I will look, it's the same with every verb. I will go, I will eat, I will drink. Or I am going to drink, I am going to eat, I am going to look. That's the two possibilities with the future. And here you can see the first possibility, I will see, and the present and the simple. But the other possibility is the past. We have a lot of verbs in the past that are irregular. For example, the verb to eat. Okay, so I eat in the present, I will eat in the future, but irregular in the past, I ate. And we have a lot of verbs that are irregular in the past, and that's very important. The next concept is the continuous. We have a period in the present continuous, that you are doing something continuously, and the structure is the subject, the extra verb to be, and the gerund, the ing form of the verb. For example, I am eating, I am drinking, I am going. That's the present continuous. We have the concept of the future continuous, which is the subject, the verb extra to be, and the gerund, again the ing. So I will be going. That's the future continuous. I will be eating, I will be drinking, I will be speaking. It's the same concept in the past, except the verb to be is in the past. I was drinking, I was going, I was talking. So that's the past continuous, the present continuous, and the future continuous, the future simple, the future present simple, and the past simple. The next concept is the perfect. We have the present perfect, which is the period in the past that's finished, but it's relevant and related to the present. And the construction is the subject, I, you, he, she, we, I, the extra verb have, and the participle of the verb, the third column. So one example is, I have eaten my breakfast this morning. So it started in the past, it's finished, but it's relevant and it's related to the present, because now I am not hungry. So that's the present perfect. The past perfect is a similar concept, except the construction is had. I is the subject, had is the past and the participle. So I had eaten, and usually the past perfect is necessary before another action in the past simple. That's the difference between the present perfect and the past perfect. So the past perfect is a period in time in the past, usually before a past simple, okay? And it is possible also the future perfect, and that's a little more advanced and a little more difficult. I will have eaten my dinner. I will have spoken to my friend, okay? They are the most important concepts in relation to the tenses and the times. It's a little heavy with the theory, but it is very important that you understand more or less the concept of the time that we speak, because it's so important to construct, okay? The next one, we have three more. So the infinitive, the concept of the infinitive is basically the base or the foundation of the verb, and usually it's with to. For example, to eat, to drink, to go, to have, to be. So the infinitive is usually with the verb to, with the preposition to eat, to go. In Spanish, para beber, para comer, para dormir. In English, it's to eat, to drink. That's the infinitive. The next concept is the conditionals, and the theory for the conditionals is a little heavy. In theory, we have the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, and mixed conditional. So the theory is a little heavy, and the rules are a little serious in the book, but in reality it's a little more flexible, and basically it's connected to if. For example, if it rains today, I will go to the city. If I won the match yesterday, I would have been happy. So it depends on if, and it also depends on the time. That's the basic concept of the conditional, and in reality it's a little more flexible in my opinion, but in the book it's a little strict and a little heavy with the theory. Okay, another tense, another time that is interesting and important, particularly for exams. If you are preparing an exam and you use the active and the passive, it's very impressive. Okay, so basically the concept of the active is the subject, the verb and the object. That's the active. And the passive, you change the position. You have the object, extra verb to be, and the participle of the verb. Okay, so one example: I kick the ball. Subject, verb, object, active. The passive, the ball changes position. The verb to be is participle of the verb kicked, okay, by me. That's one example of the active and the passive. And here you can see the man kicked the ball. So the man is the subject, the verb is to kick in the past, so the man kicked the ball, the object, and then the passive, we change the position, so the ball, and it's necessary an extra auxiliary verb to be in the past, because the verb is in the past, was kicked by the man. Okay, so every day I try to introduce these concepts and I try to explain. For people who have seen this already, maybe you're falling asleep or maybe you've gone to get some coffee, that's perfect. But it is important for a lot of people, and it's the foundation of grammar, and it's so important. So the final section is important. For example, the noun and the substantive is fundamental. We use nouns and substantives a lot. Adjectives, adverbs, modal verbs, countable. Okay, so basically a noun or a substantive is a person, a place or a thing. So my hand, substantive. My jacket, noun. Okay, finger, noun. Ball, pen, house, almost everything is a substantive. But the substantive, it's necessary an article. And in English we have two articles. We have the indefinite article and we have the definite article. The indefinite article is a, for example, a house or a house. Pronunciation is possible to two. A house or a house, okay? And then we have the definite article, specific, the house. So a house in general, but specific, the. And that's the difference between a and the. There is one rule. So when the substantive or the noun begins with a vowel, and the vowels are a, e, I, o, u, the article is necessary an. That's the general rule. Okay, so when the word begins with a vowel, the general rule, it's necessary to use an with the indefinite article. Okay, we have a concept also of the countable and uncountable nouns. So is it possible to count the noun, or is it not possible? For example, book. One book, two books, three books, four books. Yes, a book, it's possible to count. But for example, water, air, chocolate, money. Is it possible to count chocolate? One chocolate, two chocolate? No, not really. We count one bar of chocolate, one piece of chocolate, one bit of chocolate. But chocolate, it's not possible to count. The same with water, the same with air, the same with money. So these substantives are called uncountable. And this is important, particularly in relation to how much and how many. So here you can see how much and how many, okay? So for countable, we normally say many. How many books, how many pens, how many bottles, how many people, because it's possible to count. But for uncountable, we use how much water, how much chocolate, how much air, how much money. Okay, so that's the difference between how much and how many, and countable and uncountable. So it is important. Okay, the adjective, basically in English, the adjective describes the noun. So we have a noun, house, the definite article, the house, but now we need an adjective to describe the noun. And usually the adjective is before the noun. Okay, so the house, the big house, the small house. Okay, so that's the structure. You have the article, the noun, and the adjective. That's the rule with the adjective, is to describe the noun. Okay, the next concept are adverbs. So adverb describes the verb. Okay, so you have a verb, to run, to drink, to eat. and normally the adverb ends in ly. Quickly, slowly, that's the typical adverb with the suffix, the ending ly. Quickly, slowly, rapidly, happily. Okay, so I run quickly, I speak rapidly. Okay, so there's two possibilities with the adverb and the verb. So the concept of the adverb is very important. Basically, it describes the verb. Okay, the next area is very interesting and very important. We have modal verbs. Okay, so modal verbs are related to ability and possibility and permission. So really, ability, possibility, permission, advice and recommendation. In situations for advice, situations for recommendation, and situations for ability and possibility. Okay, so can is a verb, and usually it's ability and permission. Ability, I can read a book, I can play the piano. My ability, I can. That's ability. Permission, can I go to the city centre? Can I enter the room? It's a question and it's permission. Okay. Could, may and might are possibilities. So I could go to the city centre. I could watch the football match. I may watch the football match. I might go to the city centre. The three are basically the same. They're very, very similar. The only difference, I think, is maybe more polite. May and might is more polite and a little more maybe formal, but basically a little bit more polite. That's the difference between may, might and could. But really they're for possibilities, okay, and options, situations with possibilities. Shall is a bit older English and a bit more formal, and it's related to should and will. So for example, shall we go to the supermarket? Shall we watch the movie? It's a question like, will we watch the movie or should we watch the movie? Should is basically for advice and recommendation. So my advice to you, you should go to the doctor. You should watch the movie. You should read this book. It's my advice and my recommendation. That's the principal concept of should. Okay. Ought to. First, the pronunciation is difficult because the G is silent. So the pronunciation is ought to, and the significance is the same as should. It's a little more formal, I think. So you ought to go to the doctor. You ought to visit your friend. You ought to watch this movie. It's more formal, it's more advanced, and it's very, very good English. Must is obligation. Okay, so pronunciation, the U in Ireland and possibly with me and possibly in Dublin, the U can be very, very strong in the pronunciation in Ireland. For example, Dublin, butter, and that's probably not phonetically the same in the book. The phonetic rule in the book is probably Dublin, must, butter, bus. So probably we need to be careful with the pronunciation of the U in Ireland. But the verb must, the modal verb, is obligation. You must go to the cinema. You must read the book. You must speak to your friend. It's obligation. It's two possibilities: obligation, must, and have to. You have to speak to your friend. You have to watch the movie. Okay, so must and have to are obligation situations. The construction, there's one rule after the modal verb. The most important rule after the modal verb, the next verb is the infinitive, but it's necessary to eliminate two. So can, go, can, eat, could, talk. The rule, the next verb is the infinitive, to eat, to drink, but after the modal we eliminate two. That's the rule with the modal, and it's a very common error and a common mistake. Okay, so the correct structure: can go, could talk, may speak, and the incorrect: can to go, might to talk. That's incorrect. Okay, the construction of the modal in the past is the modal, for example, should, can, could, plus have, plus the participle. So I could have gone, I may have spoken, I might have been. That's the construction in general of the past of the modal, and that's irregular compared to the normal past. So that is very important. Okay, prepositions, we have maybe 150 prepositions in English, and they are so important in general in relation to direction, in relation to movement, and in relation to position. So prepositions are very, very important in that concept, but they are also very important in phrasal verbs. And you remember at the top we had the phrasal verb And the phrasal verb is a combination of the verb and a preposition with a literal significance, but also a second or a double significance. Okay, so the prepositions are so common, so fundamental, and so important in English. And again, basically, they are connected to movement and direction. For example, speak. I speak to you. It's direction. I am in the room. The ball is on the table. The ball is under the table, beside the table, in front of the table, over, below. So very important in relation to position when we speak. So important, okay? The next category of pronouns is very important, okay? So the technical name is a pronoun, but really the difference between my house, your house, or the house is mine, the house is yours, or give the house to me, or I give the house to you. So this is the object pronoun here. This is the possessive pronoun, and this is also a possession situation, okay? So it's a typical confusion between the three, but you need to be clear with the list. For example, again, my hat, or the hat is mine, or give the hat to me. We need to be very clear in the future in your study to prepare that, okay? Here we need to be clear also the difference between this, that, these, and those. So it depends if it's singular, if it's plural, and it depends on the position. For example, this hat, that hat, these hats, and those hats. So singular here, this book, singular, that book away in a different position, singular, these books, plural, close to me here, and those books, plural, away from me. So it depends on the position, and it depends on singularity or plural, okay? There is a difference between another, other, the other, and the others, and this is very common confusion as well. So another is usually before the substantive, but it's for singular. Another day, another week, another year, singular, singular, singular. And other, here, other, and again the pronunciation, the th, phonetically probably is so other. Well, other is phonetically, and in Ireland sometimes the phonetics of the th almost sounds like a d. So be careful with the Irish pronunciation and perhaps my pronunciation of the th and the u. Okay, so another is for singular and other is for plural. Another day, another week, other years, other people, other days. So that's the difference between another and other. When you have an option, when you have a choice of two things, so do you want this coffee or do you want the other coffee? So when you have a choice of two and you select the other choice, that's the situation that's possible, the other. So do you want this football or do you want the other football? Okay, so for two choices we have the possibility the other. The others is related to people. So do you want to go to the cinema with us or do you want to go to the cinema with the others? Okay, so again there's four possibilities: another, other, the other, and the others. Okay, so you need to be very clear and very sure with the difference, and sometimes this is a typical confusion. Okay, so to construct a question is very important in English, and how do you construct a question is important also. So basically for the question you can invert the affirmative. The affirmative is I have chocolate, that's the affirmative, and the question, have you chocolate? So that's one possibility, inversion, and the second possibility is do. So I have chocolate, do you have chocolate? They're the two basic concepts for the question, but there is more information in the theory, and two websites I recommend for your study for English. There are two websites that I think are very, very good. You have the British Council Grammar section. The British Council Grammar website is very good, and also the official Cambridge Grammar website the two of them are very, very good. Okay, so the British Council Grammar and the Cambridge Grammar websites for me are the best recommendations to make. Okay, so the idea of the suffix and the prefix. In English we have a suffix at the end of the sentence and we have a prefix at the beginning. These are very important secrets to really understand the structure of the word. Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Is it an adverb? Is it an adjective? The suffix and the prefix normally is an indication. Okay, so for example, The suffix ance is normally a substantive. The importance, that's normally a substantive with ance at the end. Ize as a suffix at the end is normally a verb to realize. Okay, so the verb to realize has the suffix. The suffix able is usually adjective. Incredible, for example, and there are more adjectives with able at the end. Ly is usually the adverb, quickly, slowly, rapidly, happily. That's normally the adverb. Pre represents before. Anti represents opposition or against, contra in Espanol, and the negative is usually two possibilities with irregular, impossible, or unbelievable. So that area is very interesting to consider if you want to really understand the structure of the word. Okay? And then linkers. So we have linkers, or words that connect phrases and words that connect sentences in a cohesive way. For example, however, furthermore, and, but, although, as well as. We have a lot of linkers that are very important, and we have more advanced linkers, and it's very impressive when you use them correctly, and also we use them all the time. They are very frequent in every situation, so they are very, very important for sure to learn. Okay, and that's basically the introduction. So specific vocabulary, of course, it's important to concentrate on specific vocabulary. For example, if you work in a particular business or a particular sector or a particular industry, it is of course necessary and a good idea to learn specific vocabulary, and hopefully maybe I can help in the future with this. Writing is a very important skill also, so it's important to practice your writing, and it's important to practice your speaking. It's available. If you want, you can send me some writing. The topic is your choice, and I can correct your writing and give you my opinion, give you my advice, and with your permission, during the class I can show everybody the writing just to help. For me, that's a very good idea, and I hope you can send me some writing. Okay? Exam preparation is very important as well. The Cambridge exams, the IELTS exams are very popular, and I hope soon to create some classes particular for the advanced, the C1, and particular for the IELTS or maybe the first certificate. So that's an idea, to create different classes soon in relation to exam preparation. Okay, super, well done. So that's the introduction, and that is very important every day. So well done. And now I want to show you a reality, a real situation of English. So this is a newspaper. The newspaper is the Irish Times, and the story yesterday is in relation to one boy from Croatia. The boy is from Croatia, and basically he travelled to Ireland with the idea, with the hope of finding a job, and at the beginning it was very difficult for him to find a job. He had a lot of difficulty, and he had no home, so he was homeless, and this story describes his situation. But after time he found a job, and now he is working in a charity to help other people in that situation. So that is the context of the article, and first I want to read maybe one paragraph, two paragraphs for pronunciation number one, and after I will return to the vocabulary and the grammar to show you the important points. Okay, so here is the article, and here you can see later my vocabulary and important points. Okay, so again I will read just to explain. So you wake up and your feet are frozen and numb. You don't feel any pain. Okay, so the cold weather was the worst part about living on the streets, homeless worker says. Okay, so it's from the Irish Times, and that's the journalist who wrote it, and this is the boy. Okay, so Jay Bobanak, who was homeless but is now helping other homeless people with the charity Tiglin in Dublin City. Okay, so falling temperatures and snow this week saw many homeless people fighting to keep warm. Jay Bobanak knows that struggle well, but instead of dwelling on it, he uses it as motivation to assist those in need. Bobanak, 24, slept on the streets of Dublin for just under a year when he first moved to Ireland from Croatia 5 years ago. Now, studying for a master's in social care, he spends his days helping those facing homelessness and addiction. Okay, and I'll read one more paragraph. He left Croatia seeking a better life, as, he says, there were no opportunities for him at home. He thought Ireland would be the perfect place to live because it has a similar culture to Croatia. Okay, so interesting grammar points and very interesting story. So here you can see the first expression is the phrasal verb to wake up. Okay, so the verb is to wake and the preposition is up, and the significance of the preposition is very important. So there's two possibilities, to wake up and to get up. So to wake up is more physical and more mentality, so you are asleep and at 6 o'clock you wake up. Okay, and up is usually positive, up is usually a lot of life, a lot of animation, so you wake up. The second possibility is to get up, and to get up is physical. It's actually physical moving. Okay, so wake up is maybe more mental and get up is physical from bed. They're the two possibilities for wake up and get up. Okay, so I'll put here in my notes to wake up and to get up, a little different. And your feet, so this is very important as well, and it's a typical error because singular is 1 foot, singular 1 foot, and plural 2 feet. So many people make this error. The correct construction is singular 1 foot and 2 feet. Okay, it's irregular, but it's very important. So 1 foot and plural is 2 feet, irregular. So very, very important to remember and very important to recognize and to remember, of course. Okay, numb. So numb is an adjective and it is describing the sensation when there's no feeling. So for example, my hand is numb, and the pronunciation is important because the B is silent. So it's a silent B and the pronunciation is numb. Okay, and again it's typical with your hand. For example, if I sit on my hand for 10 minutes, after 10 minutes I have no sensation, I have no feeling in my hand, so my hand is numb. It's possible metaphorically as well, you are numb to the situation. You are numb means you have no sensation or you have no feeling. It is very important. And it is a verb as well, to numb the pain. So for example, you take medicine to numb the pain. You have pain, dolor in Espanol. You have pain and you take the medicine to numb the pain. So there's a second possibility, to numb the pain and to ease the pain. There are two possibilities. Okay, but it is important and it is a good vocabulary. And here it's the adjective. So his feet are frozen and numb. So frozen is the adjective, and also we have two adjectives for frozen. We have frozen and freezing, and basically they are the same. Okay, they're practically the same. The context is maybe a little different in the supermarket. For the food, for example chicken, the vegetables that are frozen, so normally in the supermarket for food we say frozen. Okay, but for other situations, so for example the weather is very cold, my hands are frozen is perfect, or my hands are freezing is perfect. And that could be the present continuous also, because we have a verb in English to freeze. Okay, and it is an important verb in other contexts. For example, the bank, you can freeze your account, you can freeze your payment, so it's to stop. Okay, so the verb is very important, to freeze, and the adjectives are frozen and freezing. Okay, and the movie of course is very famous with the animation movie Frozen. Okay, so it's possible for financial situations, my account is frozen, it's not possible to use my account, it is frozen. And here he describes his feet. His feet are so cold, they are frozen. Okay, and numb, no sensation. Thankfully today the weather in Dublin is better. The weather is maybe 12 degrees, 13 degrees. This is fantastic because last week, for all the week, it was freezing. It was -3. So today it is a lot better, which is fantastic. Okay, and then you is the subject, do not is the negative, the verb is to feel any pain. So you do not feel pain is perfect, and any is just more emphasis in this situation. So do you have food? Do you have any food? It's just a little more emphasis. They are very, very similar. Okay? So the cold weather was the worst. So this is very important concept. Comparative and superlative. So the adjective is bad. Okay, so the situation is bad. The weather is bad. But comparative, the weather is worse than. Okay, so bad, worse than, but the superlative is the worst. And that structure and that concept is very important. But here it's particular example with bad. Okay, adjective bad. So the weather is bad. The weather is worse than, or the weather is the worst. And it is very important for pronunciation and the detail of the spelling. So here, the cold weather was the worst part of the experience. There are lots of bad parts, but the cold weather was the worst. Maximum. Okay. Living on, so the typical preposition for the street is on the street. I am on the street, because the preposition on is normally for surface. On the table, on the window, on the jacket, on the person, on the street, because the street is a surface and we typically say on the street. It is possible to say in the street. There are a lot of people in the street, but number one, the most typical and the most common is on the street. Okay? And remember, in relation to the bus, the train and the aeroplane, I am on the bus, I am on the plane, I am on the boat, because originally the original plane probably was a surface and the original boat was probably a surface, and the same concept with the train originally was a surface and it's on. But the car is maybe more modern and you enter the car, so you are in the car. That's the general rule, but of course it is more flexible and it's possible to say in the boat, in the plane, in the train. But originally it's on. Okay. Homeless. So this is an example of a suffix, and the suffix less has the meaning of without. So homeless, without a home. Jobless, without a job. Okay, and that's the significance of the suffix. Okay, so homeless, jobless. Yesterday for Valentine's Day, heartless. A lot of people without the heart, no emotion. That's possible. Homeless, jobless, heartless. We have more possibilities. So basically the suffix less is generally the significance without. Okay? Okay, good. So the next paragraph you can see here, just below the picture, J. Bobanak, who. So the difference between who and whom is very important. So who and whom. Basically who is the subject of the verb and whom is the object. That's the basic difference. So here the verb is to be, so we need the subject. I am, you are, but here we don't know who. So J, who was. Okay, so for the subject it's necessary who, but the object it's whom. So I give the book to whom. That's the difference. Okay, object and subject. Again, helping other. So remember the difference between another and other. So here we have other and it's plural. Okay, that's the secret. So another is for singular and other is for plural. So another person singular, but other people. And this is very important also in English, because singular is one person, but plural is 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. That is very important, and it's a common error, particularly from Spanish speakers to English, because in Español it's un persona y dos personas, es el mismo. Pero in Inglés it's 1 person and 2 people. Very, very, very important to remember. And here, other represents plural, homeless is the adjective, and people is the plural. Okay, preposition for the city is in the city. I live in the city. I am in. The next paragraph. So the verb is to fall, caer in Espanol. We have synonyms in relation to temperature. So the temperature is falling, the temperature is dropping, or the temperature is plunging. So we have a few vocabulary in relation to temperature and to fall. And I will write the vocabulary here. To fall, to drop, and to plunge. Probably the third example is more advanced, to plunge. Okay, typical with the price. The price plunges, drops dramatically. Okay, so this is more dramatic, to plunge. And it's typical in the toilet, in the bathroom, you have the object. The plunger is the object to clear the toilet. When the toilet is blocked, fantastic concept, great image, but when the toilet is blocked, you use the plunger, the object, to clean the toilet. Okay, So that is specific vocabulary, a plunger. But it is typical for the price and the temperature is dropping dramatically to plunge. But here it's just fall. So falling temperatures and snow this week. So this is confusing because it's the verb to see, and normally the person sees. I see, you see. But in this situation it's more creative. The situation, the context, created or saw many homeless people. And again, the difference between many and much. So here it's many because it's countable. One person, two people, three people. It's possible to count. So it's necessary many. The error probably would be much. So that's the error in this case. Fighting to keep warm. So the verb is to fight. Pelear in Espanol. It's possible physical, to fight. It's possible verbal, to have a fight or to have an argument or a discussion, a fight. But it's metaphorical as well. To fight, to stay warm or to keep warm. And to keep is practically the same as to stay warm. We have three verbs that are very important: to keep, to stay and to maintain. And they are very, very similar, but this is typical with the adjective: to keep happy, to keep warm, and the two are very possible before the adjective. So to stay warm, to keep warm. Maintain is flexible, so they are very, very similar, and here it's to keep warm. Okay, and again, hot and warm are good adjectives. Hot is probably more, and warm is just a little less. So I am warm, but I am hot is more, a bit excessive. Okay, so that's the difference between warm and hot. So here, again, knows that struggle well. So the difference between good and well is very, very important. So the question, why not he knows that struggle good? Is that correct or is that not correct? Well, technically the difference well is the adverb. So well is typically used in association with the verb. So I can read very well. I can run very well. So well is typically the adverb and good is typically the adjective. That's the basic difference between good and well. And it's a common question and a common confusion. So well is the adverb and good is the adjective. So here it's related to the verb well. So I know well. So it's the adverb connected to the verb. Okay. Vocabulary struggle is very important, and the significance is practically the same as to fight. So como tener dificultad en español. To have difficulty is to struggle or to fight. So very common, very advanced, very good. And an example, I struggle to wake up in the morning. So I have difficulty to wake up in the morning. I struggle to read Japanese. I struggle to understand Japanese. I have difficulty. I fight to understand. So it is very, very important. And the substantive is very common as well as struggle. Okay. So the travel in the morning, to transport, to travel in the morning from my house to the city centre is a struggle. It's difficult. Okay, so very important. To read Japanese is a struggle. It is difficult. Okay. So here it's the substantive, and remember the difference between this, that, these and those. So here it's that struggle because probably it's away, but it is possible in this concept, this struggle. In this situation, this is possible also, but it's a good example of the use of English. Okay. Instead of is a linker, and the significance in Espanol is en lugar de, but it is very common in English, and really it means instead of, en lugar de in Espanol. So originally your stead is an old English word for position or place. So the significance of stead is position or place. And for example, I go to the party in your stead. So that means I substitute you at a party. I go in your place. So the significance of stead is old English for place or position. And that's the significance of instead of. So instead of is like substitution or a swap. Okay. So normally after instead of, the verb is in the ing. So normally after instead of, it's ing, the gerund. Instead of going, instead of eating, instead of drinking, instead of speaking. That's the normal construction. Instead of with the ing. Okay. This verb is very advanced and very important to dwell. I think we saw this verb a few weeks ago, but probably you have not seen it or you do not remember. But to dwell has the significance to live. Okay, so I dwell in Dublin, I live or I stay in Dublin. Okay, the substantive is dwelling. This is my dwelling. This is my home. This is the place I stay, my dwelling. Okay, so it is advanced and it is a very important verb and substantive, but the use is very flexible as well, and it's related to your thought or your idea. So you're thinking about something bad, you think about a bad moment and you're not happy, so you continue to think about the moment, so you stay thinking, you stay on the topic, so you dwell on the topic. That's very, very famous expression. To dwell on the situation, to dwell on the topic is to continue to think, and maybe negative situation. Okay, so here this boy Jay had a very bad situation. He was living on the street and he had two options. He had the option to think continuously about it, negative continuously, to stay, or the second option was to do something better, and that's the significance of instead of, so in the place of. Okay, and the typical preposition with dwell is on. So I'm dwelling on the decision, I'm dwelling on the past, dwelling on. Typical preposition, dwell on. Okay, a little difficult explanation, but very advanced and very fluent and very, very normal. To dwell on the situation, to dwell on the problem, to continue to think about the problem. Okay, it is important in English. You need always to be conscious and to be aware of the use of it, and in this situation it is the substitution for the bad situation. So instead of continuing to think about the bad situation, instead of dwelling on it, so it is very important in English, and you need to pay attention always to the importance of it. Okay, he uses subject, the verb to use, and normally the third person has the S. So for example, the verb to know, I know, you know, he knows, with the S. I go, you go, he goes. So the third person usually has the extra S, and here it's the same. So he uses, and again it. So it is the substitution for the bad moment, the bad situation, as motivation to assist. The verb to assist is very important as well, particularly in Spanish, because asistir in Español is a false friend. Asistir in Español in English is to attend. Typical for university, for college. To attend school, to attend college has the significance of asistir in Español. Okay, and the significance of assist in English is to help. So I assist you has the significance I help you, but I attend school, I attend class, very different. Okay, so the difference between assist and to attend is very, very important. And here we have those. Remember this, that, these, those. So it's people, those people, and the typical preposition in need, who need help. Okay, so you are in need, I am in need, we all are in need. The typical preposition is in need. The verb is to need, and the substantive is also a need, a necessity. Okay, so I'll write that as well. A need is possible a noun, which is a necessity, and the structure is in need. So I am in need, you are in need. Okay, so the next one is very important. Also, the verb is to sleep, dormir in Espanol. I sleep in the present. Future simple, I will sleep. Past simple, irregular. So past simple, slept. Sleep in the present and slept in the past. Irregular, very important. Again, the preposition for the street, on the street. In the street is possible, but probably number one is on the street. Okay, for just under a year. So this is the preposition under. So you have 1 year, under a year. 10 minutes, under 10 minutes. 1 hour, under 1 hour. Okay, so it's the preposition for position and movement. Move to, so the verb is to move, and the typical preposition with move is move to. Move to Ireland, move to here. And it is possible from as well. So this is a perfect example. The boy originally lives in Croatia, but he moved to Ireland from Croatia. So move to, from. So the prepositions are very important. 5 years ago. So this structure is also important. 2 minutes ago, 1 minute ago, 1 year ago. Hace un año, hace dos años. The significance in Spanish. In English, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Okay, so that is an important fundamental structure in the past. Okay. Study, the verb to study, and it's the activity. He is studying, and the typical preposition, studying for opposition, studying for English, studying for an exam, for. It's a particular purpose. Okay. And again, in care, well, it's typical in relation to study. I am studying a master's in biology. I am studying a master's in mathematics. So in is typically connected with studying something in. Okay, with the asignatura, the subject. Okay, so that is important. Asignatura is the subject. And again, those is the same. So those people, plural, these people, those people. And here's a very good example of the suffixes. Okay, so home is the noun. Homeless is without noun. Homelessness is the substantive of all the people without the home. Okay, so homeless is adjective without a home. Homelessness is substantive. So normally the suffix is ness for substantive. For example, happiness. Happiness, ness is the suffix, and it's a noun. Homelessness, so it's a good indication and very important to identify the suffix. Okay. Left, again irregular. The verb to leave, dejar in Espanol, to leave. Okay, and the past, I left. To leave and left. Also, its direction, right and left, completely different. So direction, left, and verb to leave, dejar, past simple, left. So he left Croatia seeking. Very important verb to seek, has the significance to look for. I am seeking an opportunity. I am seeking a house. I am seeking a home. I am looking for. Okay? And here it's the same, seeking. So basically the significance is looking for. Okay, so he was looking for a better life. Okay? And then preposition, I am at home. You are at home. But it's a little irregular because the verb to go, we never use at with go. This is a typical error. So the verb to go, home. So yesterday, in the past, I went home at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow, I will go home. So with the verb to go and home, we eliminate the preposition. Okay? It is possible go to home, but number one, most common, is to go home. Okay? So I will write that as well. To go home. That's just a little detail and very important. Okay? And again, he is the subject, the verb is to think, and the past irregular, again, thought. So I think, I thought. And this is very difficult because we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past, and it's very, very hard to remember when you are learning English. So the verb is to think, and the past, I thought. Okay? And in relation to similar, the typical preposition in relation to similar is to. You are similar to your friend. Dublin is similar to Madrid. Italy is similar to Spain. Similar to, similar to. Okay? That is important. Okay, good. So now that's a good example of analysis of the vocabulary. So I can close this and we can continue maybe tomorrow with this article, or maybe we will continue with a different article also. Okay? Now I want to show you a video. Okay, so it is important to practice your listening, and I want to show you a video for maybe 1 minute and try to understand the conversation, try to understand the expressions, try to understand everything. Probably it is very, very difficult, I am sure, but after 1 minute I will show you the script, I will show you the vocabulary, I will show you the words and try to explain, and then we can watch again. Okay? But also, in relation to the Zoom, if anybody wants to join the meeting at the end for to practice your speaking, that's possible as well. And remember, here is the code for the speaking. So if you have the motivation and if you are brave and you want to practice your speaking, you can connect with Zoom and we can practice your speaking. Okay? Okay, so here is the video. And again, I will play for 1 minute. Yesterday or last week we watched this clip, but today it's a new clip. Okay, so I'll just play, and it's the next scene. Okay, so now it starts. So I hope you can hear, and for 1 minute we can play the video and you can try to identify everything. Okay?
Hey, and listen, no monkey shoes in the bed, okay, love? So, was it fun?
Yeah, he loved it. Driven the poor hard stuff, sort of?
Oh, most of it, you know. Because of you. Give me the time to do it.
Oh, actually, I ran into Sash on the way back. She said if we're at a loose end tonight, we should call over.
Oh, I can't. I have that virtual date with Wayne.
That was cancelled.
How come?
The row on the phone earlier. It sounded pretty brutal.
It's nothing.
So you were talking to him again since?
No, but it's, you know, it's fine. Do you know what? I'm just gonna put some checking this little fella.
Okay, perfect. So that's just 1 minute. A typical conversation, a typical situation, very informal, very, very normal local conversation, probably very difficult to understand, but now I want to show you the vocabulary that was important in that clip. Okay, so here the lady at the beginning, she says hey, and listen, that's the first part. She says hey and listen, no mucky shoes in the bed, okay love? So mucky is an adjective, the substantive is muck. Okay, so muck is the noun, and in Espanol is barro. Creo que es barro in Espanol. On the ground you have grass, and the brown land or the brown earth under the grass is the muck. Okay, typically dirty, and when you go to the park with your shoes and it's very wet, you have muck on your shoes. Okay, so the substantive is muck and the adjective is mucky. Okay, so it's like dirt on your shoe. There is another completely different possibility. There's a possibility to muck around, which has the significance to joke or to play around. So the children are mucking around. That means they are playing or they are having fun or they are joking. That's a significance completely different. But here, the adjective is your shoes, like no dirty shoes, no mucky shoes in the bed. So for the bed, there are there are two possibilities for the bed. We say in the bed or on the bed. So if you are in the bed, that means the blanket is over you. So there's a big difference, and this is a common error. So you are in the bed means you have the blanket on top and you are almost sleeping. That's in the bed. But on the bed is just on top, maybe sitting. So the blanket is here and you're on the bed. So yes, there is a big difference between in the bed and on the bed, and this is a common confusion and a common error. So it is very important, the difference between in bed and on the bed. Okay, so in bed again is almost asleep. You're ready for sleeping. You're inside the blanket, and the second one is just maybe sitting on the bed. But here it's in the bed. Okay, so that's just one example. And then okay, love. So love is mi amor in Espanol. It's very typical in other languages. The same concept. My darling, the person you care a lot. Okay. So here is the verb to be. We have the subject. So normally the subject is first and the verb is second. So this is an example of the question because we invert. Okay, so it's a question. Was it fun? And again, it. We need to be very careful with it. What is it? In this situation, it was the trip, it was the day, it was the event. Was the trip fun? Was the event fun? So it is very important. And fun is also very important. The difference between fun and funny. And this is a typical error as well. So fun is the noun and funny is the adjective. Okay, so typically it's possible a person is a lot of fun or a person is very funny. They're two possibly, and they are both correct, but there's a little difference. Funny is maybe it makes you laugh, and the verb to laugh is ha ha ha. So the person is very funny and you laugh. Okay, that's the adjective. The comedian is very funny, but the party was a lot of fun. You had a good time. So Sunday was fun. You had a good time, a nice moment. But funny is related to laugh, and the pronunciation of laugh is difficult. Maybe you don't understand, but the verb is to laugh. Okay, riarse, I think in Espanol. When you have a joke, you laugh, ha ha ha. So there's a big difference between fun and funny, and that's very important. Yeah, he loved it. So he loved the day, he loved the moment, and this is a very difficult expression, and probably you understand it because tormenta is similar in Spanish and drive is very general, but the expression is to drive somebody crazy. This is a typical expression, okay? So to drive somebody crazy is to make somebody crazy, or to annoy or to frustrate somebody. So to drive somebody crazy is to annoy or frustrate somebody. There's another possibility, to drive somebody up the wall. That's very famous as well and very informal. It's the same concept. It's making me crazy and you're driving me up the wall because I'm so frustrated and I'm so annoyed. Okay, so to drive somebody crazy and to drive somebody up the wall. This example is practically the same. It's not so common, but it is possible. To drive somebody tormented is possible, I suppose. Okay, and it has the same significance as well. But there is a verb to torment somebody, and that means to annoy or to really frustrate somebody. Very common. So that's the context here. And remember, drive is the verb, drove is the past, and driven is the participle. So this construction technically is probably grammatically incorrect, but it doesn't matter because it's the conversation. It's very informal. But really the verb is to drive, the past is drove, and driven. The typical structure is, you have me driven up the wall. That's the perfect. Have driven. So the typical structure is, you have me driven up the wall. And I think he confuses the two here as well. So you have me driven up the wall. So very, very fluent, very normal conversation, very typical in families all the time, very typical in arguments, okay? And again, it's the question, did he? So it's a question in the past. Another question in the past, did you get? So get means obtain, get means to become, or get means to achieve. And in this situation, the significance is to achieve. Lograr in Espanol. So did you achieve the garage stuff? And stuff is very general, like the job, the things, the cosas in Espanol. Did you get the stuff? It's like things, very general for cosas, things. Okay. Did you get the stuff sorted? This verb is very important. To sort is to fix or to organize. I have a problem and I need to sort the problem. I need to organize the problem. My room is very disorganized. My room is very untidy. I need to sort my room. So to sort is to organize. Very important. In the bank, you have the sort code because the code organizes the person. So the verb to sort is very important. And the significance is to organize. Okay, and there is another possibility in relation to sort. What sort is the significance? What type or what kind? Okay, so what sort, what type, and what kind are all the same. And for example, chocolate. What sort of chocolate do you like? Do you like white chocolate? Do you like black chocolate? Do you like milk chocolate? What sort of chocolate? What type of chocolate? What kind of chocolate? Okay. So it is important, the verb to sort. And here it's the participle. Sort, sorted, sorted. Most of it. So again, it is very important. But here, what is the significance? So the significance is the job, the garage stuff. So here's the substitution. Garage stuff is the significance of it here. So most of the garage stuff. You know, cause. So this is very informal. And the correct word is because. So because is possible to say cause. And it's possible in text message. And it's very informal writing. Okay. And that's an example of informal situations. And then again, you, because of you, giving me the time. So this is the object pronoun. You give me, so me is the object pronoun, the time to do it. And again, what is it? It is the same. It is the garage stuff. So you need to be always careful with the word it. It's very important in English. Actually has the significance in fact. Okay, so actually is in fact. It's a false friend because in Spanish, actualmente has the significance currently. So it's a false friend. In Espanol, actualmente has the significance currently. Okay, and I'm just going to write that because it is important. In Espanol, actualmente in Spanish has the significance of currently. And de hecho in Espanol has the significance of in fact or actually. So it's a little confusing and it's a common error, but here the significance is de hecho in Espanol, okay, or in fact. This is an important phrasal verb as well. And I see we have an invite from Ivalo. So Ivalo, if you can wait maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes until after, and then we can connect with you, okay? So I'll leave you in the room. But this expression, to run into, is very important, okay? So the verb is to run, and the significance to run into is to meet. So on the street, if you run into your friend, the significance is you meet your friend, but maybe unexpectedly. Okay, so to run into is the present, and the past, I ran into. And there is another possibility of a phrasal verb, to bump into. So to bump into is to meet also, okay? So very important significance, to run into, and here it's the past. So I ran into Sash on the way back. Okay, on my way to the party, on my way to meet you. As the preposition, on my way to you, on my way back here. Okay, and she said, if we are at a loose end, this is a very famous conversational expression as well. So at a loose end is very typical. Loose is suelto in Espanol. For example, my shirt is very tight. The opposite, very tight, and loose is very relaxed. Okay, and end is typical for the hair. So you have a loose end when your hair is separated, but the significance is your plans or your social activity. You are at a loose end. You have no confirmed plans. You have nothing confirmed to do. You're at a loose end. Very, very famous, okay? So she said if, so it's the conditional. If we are at loose end tonight, we should, and remember this is recommendation or advice, so it's the lady's advice that they should call. And remember, the next verb after the modal is the infinitive, but we eliminate to. Okay, so you should call over. Okay. The next expression, she said, I thought, so a virtual date with Wayne, I thought that was cancelled. How come? So how come is very common in conversation, and the significance is why. So you are tired. How come? Why? You are not happy. How come? So how come has the same significance of why. Very important, very typical in conversation. So I am not speaking to that person. How come? What happened? Why? Very, very important. This is also very important, and it's very, very flexible. Okay, so to row is typical in sport. Remar in Espanol, to row the boat. Row the boat. So to row is the activity for sport, number one. The second significance is completely different, and the significance is to argue or to fight. Okay, so to row, and the pronunciation is very difficult as well. So to row is the sport, pronunciation to row, and to row is to have an argument or to have a fight. Okay, and there's two possibilities for sport and for argument. Sport and argument. And there is another possibility, the substantive, a row in the cinema. So you have the cinema and you have the front row, you have the second row and the third row. So the row is possible in the cinema, like a line. That's the third significance. And there is another expression, 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, 5 times in a row, and the significance is consecutive. So it is very important. Front row in the cinema, and 3 times in a row means consecutive. So this is an example of the difficulty of English. There are lots of different significances, but really it's the same concept, because the cinema is the front row, second row, third row, and the championship in the sport, if you win, consecutive. It's the same concept really, but the other significance, to argue or to fight, is completely different. Very important. So here it's the substantive, the fight or the disagreement. Preposition on the phone. I am on the phone. Okay. Pretty brutal is bastante in Espanol, like quite. So pretty has the significance of quite. Are you happy? Pretty happy. Are you tired? Pretty happy. Quite happy, quite tired. Exactly the same significance. So pretty has the significance of quite, and the second significance is very attractive. So if the person is very pretty, it's very beautiful, very attractive. Okay. So pretty has the significance of quite, and the second significance is attractive. So very interesting word. And here it's quite. Okay, and then since is one particular in the moment. The difference between since and from. Since is one particular moment in the past. Since 8 o'clock. Since that moment. Since yesterday, one particular moment. But from is usually with two moments. From yesterday until today. From 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So the difference between since and from. And here since is one particular moment. Okay. To check on is a phrasal verb. So to check on is to investigate or to check the boy. And fella is a very informal word for boy or child or person. So this fella is this boy, this child, this man, this woman. Typically masculine, really. It's man or boy. Okay, so this fella is like a child. Very typical, informal. Okay, so now I will play the clip again and you can try to listen. And after the clip I will connect with you, Ivalo. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the start so you can see the text at the same time, and I will play the video also. So I'll close my window to move everything. Okay, so I'll try and close that, and hopefully you can see everything. Okay, so are you ready? Okay, I'll move this so you can see everything.
Hey, and listen, no monkey shoes in the bed, okay, love? So, was it fun?
Yeah, he loved it. Driven the poor animals to their mental.
Did he?
Did you get the garage of sort?
Oh, most of it, you know. Because of you. Give me the time to do it.
Oh, actually, I ran into Sash on the way back. She said if we had a loose end tonight, we should call over.
Oh, I can't. I have that virtual date with Wayne.
That was cancelled.
How come?
The row on the phone earlier. It sounded pretty brutal.
That's nothing.
So you were talking to him again since?
No, but it's, you know, it's fine. Do you know what? I'm just going to put them checking this little fella.
Okay, perfect. Well done. That's a good exercise, and in my opinion very important, because the conversation is very real, very authentic, and it's genuine English that's very difficult for you and most people to understand, and it's real English, and I think it's a very good activity. Okay, so I hope every day we can do a little of this. Okay, so that's more or less everything today. Remember, everything is free, and I'm very happy to teach you for free at the moment. It's a good opportunity, so thank you. If you want to make a little contribution or a little donation of €1 or €2, it would help me a lot. It's possible by Bizum on the left with the telephone number. It's possible by PayPal if you want to connect there, or the bank information there. It would be a very big help for me. And the other possibility is this website as well. I will put the information in the comments. Okay. Okay, super. So tomorrow I will continue as well, and now we will connect with Ivalo. If you are still here, I hope you're still waiting, and we can practice some conversation a little. Okay, so I'll accept Ivalo, and hopefully the sound is okay. Hello. Hello, Ivalo.
Yes, hello.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay, do you want to give me a little introduction, or tell me a little about yourself? Where are you calling from, for example?
I'm from Bulgaria, and I start to listen you before 1 week.
Oh, really?
I'm very happy to listen. The lesson is very nice.
Good. And what is the situation in Bulgaria with English? Do people have a good level of English in school, or what's the situation?
Yes, people in Bulgaria know English. Many of young people talk very, very good English.
Yeah.
But I'm old and I start again to learn English.
Good.
I start to talk to study English again.
Yeah.
Because I'm old, I'm 65 years, and now I live in England, and I must improve my English.
Ah, okay, perfect. So you are an excellent example because you live in England. And is it difficult for you to understand local people, and what's the most difficult, you think, in that situation?
For me, most difficult to understand English people when you talk with me. But another people, maybe Spanish, French, I understand. But English people is difficult.
Yeah. And what do you think is the best way to improve that situation?
I think that the best way to improve my English is to make everyday conversation with English people.
And do you have that opportunity?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
I want to meet with another guys who study English and make conversation is possible.
Yeah, and maybe in your work or in your area, it's possible to meet people easily, or is it difficult?
I think that in my area is difficult to meet another people because I live near to King's Cross and walk down, you know, this is difficult.
Okay, so I think King's Cross is in London, so that's a big city. And can you explain King's Cross a little bit? Is it a nice place to live? Is it full of people?
Yes, but now it's empty.
Yes. And do you like living in London, for example?
Yes, I was here before 15 years and now I'm happy to live here.
Yeah, it's a big country, isn't it? England is a big country.
Yes, I like the people, I like the things that I can to do here. Go to football, looking around me. I like environment, nature. I like to go to park.
So the
museum is good. I like opera. I like painting.
Fantastic, great. And the football you mentioned, do you have is Fulham the football team near King's Cross, or who is your favorite? No.
No, my favorite team is Liverpool.
Okay. And a little bad moment for Liverpool recently.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Now it's the bad moment because they lose 3 times.
Yeah. And Bulgaria footballers, I think the boy that played with Celtic was very Stilian Petrov. He was
And if you remember, the best player in Bulgaria is my family, Stoichkov.
Yes.
If you know, Stoichkov is the best player in the world, maybe in 1994.
Absolutely. Okay, so
He's playing very Barcelona.
yes, he's a legend. So for the probably some people are not happy with me speaking about football, but in relation to the class, what do you think could be a good idea to improve the class, or what do you recommend for the class to help?
I recommend that for me it's good to speak to politics,
Yeah.
to geography,
Yeah.
to music. I have many interests.
Okay. And the concept of the phrasal verbs, are you familiar? Were you familiar before about the concept of phrasal verbs, or is this a new idea for you?
Oh, no. Always that you study, that we study is not new for me, but phrasal verbs is the best. It's good.
Yeah.
Modal verb is good. Your starting grammar is good, but for me difficult is the watching and to listen this movie and after that to see the text. This is very difficult for me because I don't understand. I understand maybe 5-10%.
Welcome to Ireland.
Yes, this is very difficult in Ireland language.
And to hear the quality of the sound was okay on the computer?
No, the sound is not good. And,
Okay.
I don't listen good and don't understand.
Okay, well in
But
the
the big problem is that I don't understand, not that I don't listen.
okay, and the explanation, for example, this maybe helps a little after.
Excuse me?
The explanation of the vocabulary and the explanation of the video, this helps a little?
Yes. The vocabulary,
Yeah.
the means of words is very nice if you write.
Okay, good. And remember, the video is available in the comment section of the video, so later if you want to practice you can watch the video yourself and the quality will be better, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ivalo, tell me, sorry, go ahead.
I'm very surprised that you immediately make contact with me.
And
I have a privilege to talk with you.
no, it's fantastic, and the ability with technology is amazing, and this is a great opportunity, I think, to reach people to learn English. So it's a very good opportunity, and I'm very happy to connect.
Yes, and your idea is the best. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day, folks.
Thank you, Ivalo. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So that is a good example of Ivalo, and sorry, I'll just try and change the, maybe that's a bit better. I don't know how to connect my, oh, there we go. Yes, perfect. So that is an example of the possibility, and there we go, perfect. Thank you very much, Ivalo. That was a pleasure, and thank you very much, everybody. So if you want to participate, that's a very simple option for you to do. It's a pleasure for me. And just one issue in relation to the conversation, Ivalo speaks very, very well, and one example was the modal verb. So Ivalo said can to do, and this is the instruction in the explanation. So after the modal verb, the next verb is the infinitive, but it's necessary to eliminate to. So the correct structure is can do. Okay, but in general he speaks very, very well, and it's very interesting to understand that people in Bulgaria in general speak very good English. That's a really fantastic asset and a really fantastic skill to have. So that's amazing. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the class. Connect tomorrow hopefully, and we will talk soon. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, and enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, if you want to make a little tip or a little contribution, it's possible. Only optional, but it's a possibility if you want. Okay, so thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, and talk to you soon.